Welcome to our next lesson in our module on basic Java features for developing Android apps, which introduces you to the concepts and Java capabilities needed to print data to the screen of your Android device. After completing this lesson, you will know how data is displayed on the screen and how to use Java's various print statements. You will also learn about Java's string literals that you can use to create messages to be printed. Finally, you will understand the concept of an escape character and how to use them to print special characters. As with some previous lessons, you may be able to speed through this lesson if you have prior programming experience in a language similar to Java. In this quick lesson, we are going to learn how to print data to the screen of an Android device using Java. Now, Java defines a special object called system.out, which corresponds to the console of a desktop computer. And when you print something to the special object, the information will appear on the computer screen. Everyone who learns the Java programming language on a desktop computer learns how to print data to system.out. Unfortunately, it is more complicated when it comes to printing to the screen of an Android device. So, for the purposes of this MOOC and for your programming assignments, we have defined an object called out, which will act like system.out. Thus, anything you learn here can be transferred to Java programming of the desktop computer, and any knowledge you already have from programming Java on a desktop computer will transfer to your work in this MOOC. So, printing to the screen is as simple as calling the println method on the out object and specifying what you want to have printed. Again, the out object will send data to a text box on the Android screen, and the println method will print whatever you tell it to print. In the previous module of this MOOC, in which you were introduced to Android Studio, you saw the Hello World program. Let's take another look at that example. Here is the Hello World code that you saw earlier. Since you will be provided much of this code for your earlier assignments in this MOOC, we are going to ignore the declarations of the logic class and the process method. Rather, let's simply look at the line that prints Hello World by calling the println method on the out object. And as you saw during the demo of Android Studio, Hello World will be displayed in a text box on your device's screen. So the println statement displays output on the screen or a text box associated with the out object. There are two ways to use the println statement. You can use it to display a specific message, or you can use it to print a blank line. Next, let's look how we specify the words we want printed. We print what is known as a string, which is simply a sequence of characters. Formally, we call this a string literal. A string literal is delineated by double quotes. Everything between the double quotes is a part of the string, but the double quotes themselves are not. Here are two examples. Notice that a string can contain most, but not all, printable characters. There are a few restrictions to these string literals. Two important restrictions are that the string must appear all on a single line, and the string cannot contain the double quote character, since the double quote character is used to mark the start and the end of the string. But what if we actually wanted to print the double quote character as a part of the string being displayed? For example, we want to print the word Java inside double quotes. To do this, we must use what is known as an escape character to tell the compiler that these quote marks are a part of the string we want printed, rather than marking the start or end of the string. The escape character is the backslash character, and it precedes the double quote characters that are a part of the string to be printed. Besides printing double quote characters, there are several other escape sequences that allow us to add special characters to our strings. Since the backslash character is our escape character, if you want to actually print a backslash character, it must be escaped by using two backslashes. The backslash T is the escape sequence for inserting a tab character into the string, and the backslash N is the escape sequence for inserting a new line character, which causes the following data to appear on the next line. Even though each escape sequence is two characters together, the compiler treats them as a single character. Let's consider this example. We have a println statement that is printing a string that contains several escape sequences. Take a moment to look at the string. Are you able to identify the escape sequences? Here is the same string where the escape sequences have been highlighted so that you can see them easier. And here is the output that is generated. When using the println statement, It is very easy to print out the value of a variable along with some descriptive text. You only need to use the plus sign between the string and the variable name. As you see in these examples, we are performing some simple computations to give values to variables. And then we use the plus operator to combine the values of the variables with strings to be printed. And here is the output. Note that if you want spaces between the words printed and the values of the variables, you need to include those spaces as a part of your strings. In this context, the plus operator is not performing addition, but rather is performing string concatenation, combining two strings to create a new larger string. And when printing a variable, the value of the variable is converted into a string so that it can be concatenated with the surrounding strings. Thus, in this example, the value of the variable average, which is 47.5, is converted into a string so that it can be concatenated with the string that says the average was. Recall that the job of the println statement is to print an entire line to the screen, such that whatever is printed next appears on the following line. There is also a print statement that will print data to the screen, but without moving to the next line when done. This allows you to use several print statements to print data across a single line on the screen. Here's a simple example of using the print statement along with the println statement. Note that when you use the print statement, the next print statement continues on the same line, whereas when you use the println statement, the next print statement continues on the following line. And just as before, if you want spaces between your strings, you need to explicitly include them yourself. Notice how the first print statement does not include a space, nor does the subsequent println statement, and thus there is no space in the output, and the strings are abutted to one another. And finally, there is a printf statement that is useful for printing formatted text. To use printf, you need to supply what is known as a format string, which is followed by the values you want printed. The format string will contain placeholders to specify where the values will be printed and how to print them. You need to use different placeholders based upon the type of the value you are printing. %d for integer values, %f for floating point values, and %s for string. Here is a simple example of printing the x and y coordinates of a point in a nicely parenthesized way as we normally do in mathematics. The format string gets printed as given, but with the placeholders replaced with their corresponding values. Placeholders can be specified with precision and field width information so that we can format the data exactly the way we want it. Using the field width specification can make it very easy for us to print data in nicely formatted columns that are either left or right justified. We are not going to take the time to discuss all the different formatting options that are available with the placeholders. Rather, we recommend that you perform the necessary web search when you are looking for special formatting options. This lesson introduced you to the concepts and Java capabilities related to printing data to the screen of an Android device. Now that you have completed this lesson, you should know Java's different print statements and how they work to display data on the screen. You should also have learned how to create string literals to create messages that can be displayed. Finally, you should understand the concept of escape characters and how to use them to add special characters to a string.